All right, get ready because today we're diving headfirst into the world of Salesforce integration. And let me tell you, judging by your notes, you are not messing around.
Mhm.
Seriously, the detail you've put into this project is impressive, especially when it comes to prioritizing customer data. RUT, Giro, Código de Cliente. It's like you've got your finger on the pulse of what makes your Chilean customer base tick.
You hit the nail on the head. It's really refreshing to see someone who gets it, you know? It's not just about collecting data, it's about connecting the dots, painting that complete picture of each customer.
That's such a great point. Is there anything specific that stood out to you and how our listeners approaching this?
Absolutely. Take the way they're linking RUT to both Servicio de Impuestos Internos, and for anyone who needs a refresher, that's Chile's Internal Revenue Service, and to Sistema 21. Such a smart move, right? It might seem like a small thing, but it speaks volumes about their understanding of building a single source of truth for all those financial interactions.
It's like they're laying the groundwork to make sure everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet when it comes to financials. Whether it's a customer making a purchase, paying an invoice, or even just chatting with the team about a billing question, everyone's working with the same accurate information.
Exactly. And that's going to be huge when you're dealing with multiple systems feeding into Salesforce, believe me. Speaking of which, you've mentioned Aaron a few times in your notes, especially around data governance. I have a feeling he's going to be pretty happy with this level of attention to detail when it comes to accuracy and compliance.
Makes sense. You can't build a data fortress without getting those key stakeholders like Aaron on board early on. But data organization is just the tip of the iceberg, right? You're also thinking big picture with those four key integrations you've mapped out. Sistema 21, your call center SAC, that seriously impressive Televenta system, and of course, keeping pace with those ever-evolving digital channels. You're really covering all your bases.
Oh, I'm impressed, I have to say. The way you're approaching each integration, it's strategic. You're thinking beyond just making the connections work. You're looking at how to squeeze every ounce of value out of each one.
Okay, so let's zoom in on one of those integrations that caught my eye, that Televenta system connection. You've clearly done your research on the technical side, APIs, data mapping, you name it. But what I'm really interested in is how you see this integration playing out in the real world.
Picture this. A customer calls your Televenta team, right? And before the sales rep even gets to hola, bam, they've got a 360-degree view of that customer's entire history right there on their screen.
Okay, now that's what I'm talking about. That's next level customer service.
Think about it. Recent purchases from Sistema 21. Boom, right there. Notes from previous calls, logged in the call center SAC. Done. Even their recent browsing activity on your website, pulled straight from your digital channels. It's all there.
Talk about giving your sales team an unfair advantage. No more scrambling through multiple screens or putting customers on hold while they dig for information. They're ready to have a truly personalized, high-impact conversation from the get-go. It's like giving them superpowers,
Yeah.
but for sales. And it gets even better because I saw you're planning to use lead scoring within Salesforce. So not only does the team have all this incredible data at their fingertips, but the system actually helps them prioritize the hottest leads, the ones most likely to convert.
Exactly. Work smarter, not harder, right?
Hmm.
But speaking of real-world scenarios, we do need to talk about potential bumps in the road. For example, you mentioned in your notes that Sistema 21 is going to be a primary data source. Have you had a chance to confirm if they have a well-documented API? And how do you think those data structures will map onto the Salesforce side? That's always a fun one.
Those are such important questions. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of these perfect integrations, but we have to remember that technology doesn't always play nice, right?
Tell me about it. It's like planning a cross-country road trip on your fancy GPS app, and then you get out there and realize some of those roads are more like barely their dirt tracks in real life.
A perfect analogy. And just like with that road trip, a little bit of planning and the right vehicle, or in our case, the right integration tools can make all the difference. Which brings us to another area where you've clearly done your homework. That data architecture plan of yours is seriously impressive.
You've really thought this through.
When I first saw this section, I have to admit, I thought, okay, things are about to get really technical, really fast. But honestly, the way you've mapped out this complex structure, it's both comprehensive and easy to understand. I especially love how you visualize those different layers. It makes it so much clearer.
Visuals are key when it comes to data architecture. Otherwise, it's easy to get lost in the weeds, you know?
Absolutely. It's like the difference between looking at blueprints and actually walking through a building, right?
Acha.
And speaking of the building, you've chosen Salesforce as the backbone of this whole operation. It's more than just a CRM in your setup. It's like the central nervous system for all your customer data. What made you go in that direction?
It's a smart move, that's for sure. With Salesforce as your central data warehouse, all those valuable insights you're gathering, everything from contact history to purchase behavior, even how customers interact with your marketing campaigns, it all lives in one central, easily accessible location. Talk about powerful decision-making across your entire organization.
It's like having that single source of truth we talked about earlier, but on a whole other level.
Mm.
No more data silos, no more outdated spreadsheets floating around causing confusion.
Exactly. But with that centralization comes a greater need for what you've highlighted in your notes. RBAC, role-based access control. Can't forget about security.
Absolutely, because even in a perfectly integrated world, not everyone needs to see everything, right?
Right.
For those who might not be familiar with RBAC, can you break it down for us?
Sure thing. Role-based access control is all about making sure the right people have access to the right data at the right time. It's about keeping that data secure, respecting privacy. Let's say, for instance, Aaron, as the sales manager, needs to be able to see sales performance linked to RUT for reporting purposes. RBAC allows him to access that aggregated data while ensuring individual sales reps only see the information relevant to their specific clients and not the entire company's data.
So it's like having different levels of security clearance within your data architecture, making sure everyone stays in their lane. And it's not just about internal security either. It also builds trust with your customers, knowing their information is being handled responsibly.
100%. You're building that trust factor right into the system.
So we've got this incredible data architecture planned with Salesforce as the command center, all these carefully planned integrations. But it's still a bit theoretical at this point, isn't it? How do we actually start bringing this intricate machine to life? What about the implementation phase?
You're right. Implementation, that's where the magic happens, where it all comes together. And I see you're already thinking ahead with a phased approach, which is music to my ears. Trust me, when it comes to projects of this scale, taking it step by step is the way to go. Smart. So talk me through your thought process here. You've marked connecting Salesforce and Sistema 21 as priority number one. Why start there? What's the logic?
Well, we've talked about how crucial, accurate, real-time financial data is, right? It's the heart and lungs of your operation.
Yeah.
So getting that flow of information running smoothly between Sistema 21 and Salesforce, that's like setting the foundation for your entire data ecosystem. You've got to make sure that's rock solid before you start building the rest of the house.
It's like you wouldn't build the second floor before the foundation is done.
Right.
Right, got to have that solid base. And I noticed you've also highlighted the importance of testing at each stage of the integration process.
Absolutely. Testing, testing, testing. You can never test enough. Think of it like buying a new car. You wouldn't just hand over the cash without taking it for a test drive first.
Yeah. Same goes for your data architecture. You've got to take it for a spin, put it through the paces, make sure everything's running smoothly before you roll it out to the whole world. It's much better to catch those little hiccups early on than to have to deal with a major breakdown down the line.
1,000,000%. It's way easier to fix a flat tire in your driveway than it is on a busy highway, right?
And speaking of going live, I love how you're not treating this as a set it and forget it kind of deal. You're already thinking about monitoring, continuous improvement. It's like you're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. The data landscape is always changing, always evolving. Your business needs will shift. New technologies will pop up. You need a system that can adapt and grow right along with it. Regular check-ins, performance analysis, a willingness to tweak and refine. That's how you build a data strategy that truly stands the test of time. It's like having a beautiful garden. You don't just plant the seeds and walk away, right? You've got to water, you've got to weed, maybe even do a little rearranging every now and then to help it thrive. And that's what you're talking about here. So we've covered so much ground today, from the nuts and bolts of data organization to these big picture integration strategies. If you had to boil it all down to one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
For me, it all comes back to connection. Connecting your data, connecting your systems, and ultimately connecting with your customers on a deeper, more meaningful level. When you can build these seamless data flows, you're not just streamlining operations, you're opening up a whole new world of possibilities. You can understand your customers better, anticipate their needs, and create experiences that truly resonate with them.
Music to my ears. It's all about building those strong connections. And if I can add one more thought, don't be afraid to embrace the journey. I know this might seem like a pretty daunting project at times. There are a lot of moving parts, but trust me, With careful planning, the right tools in your belt, and a healthy dose of that enthusiasm I can hear in your voice, you've got this. You can transform your business into a true data-driven powerhouse.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And remember, you're not in this alone. There's a whole community of experts, consultants, resources out there just waiting to help you every step of the way. Don't hesitate to reach out and tap into that collective knowledge.
So true. All right, before we wrap things up, I want to leave you with one final thought, something to chew on as you embark on this exciting journey. You've clearly put a ton of thought into this, your notes are incredibly thorough, and you have this clear vision for Salesforce as your central data hub, which is fantastic. But what if, down the line, things shift a little? What if another system, maybe Sistema 21 with all that rich financial data, what if that became the central hub instead? How would that change in perspective impact your approach? Just something to ponder as you move forward. And with that, we've reached the end of another insightful deep dive. Until next time, happy integrating, everyone.